time coming. These four artists were scheduled to have this exhibition. There are 4 solo exhibitions in the summer of 2020. We know why that didn't happen. And Ledyard National Bank was generous enough to sponsor the exhibition and keep their placeholder for this year. So we want to thank them very much for sponsoring the exhibition. We also appreciate the support of our local business community, who gives us funding for all of our programs, all of our events, all of the things that we do here at EVA to promote the arts, to create community, to educate people in the arts. And as we all know, it's a great need that needs to be filled, especially now that we're dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic, and everyone needs this connection to physical making and freeing their mind. So this exhibition happens every other year. It's a biannual, and it's an open call to artists, usually based on a theme. So the theme for the 2019 Summer Jury Exhibition was Messages for the Future, right? So we have Elizabeth D'Amico here with us today. She was one of the prize winners for that exhibition, along with John Gilbert Fox, who's got an amazing array of photographs, and Barbara Bartlett, who has really gorgeous, delicate botanical prints. And they were selected in 2019, and they were finally able to show now. So they have a lot of patience and a lot of work that they've been doing during the pandemic. So you'll see that the galleries are just full of really amazing stuff. A little bit about Elizabeth. She taught art both in public and private schools, so she's got a heart of gold, from kindergarten through 12th grade. And before becoming an adjunct professor at Plymouth State University in 2002, right? She served as a mentor for Plymouth State University art education students. So a long history with art and art makers. After retiring at the close of 2013 spring semester, you began to focus on your artwork. And I think that's about when I met you. Yes. So Elizabeth and I go back because when I was at Northern Stage and putting together their lobby exhibition for them, she was one of the first artists that exhibited there and was so gracious. Elizabeth holds a bachelor degree, Bachelor of Science from Syracuse University, and a Master's of Fine Arts at Columbia University. Yes? Education. Oh, Master's in Education, okay. With additional graduate studies at the Hart School of Music. She is a longtime IVA member, an active member of the Women's Caucus for the Arts, and a signature member of the National Collage Society. Elizabeth exhibits regularly, right, in regional exhibitions, and her work is in private collections, both locally and nationally. We see Elizabeth here quite regularly. You teach for AVA, and she's a welcome, always a welcome presence in the galleries because of her effervescent and bubbly personality, her joie de vivre, and just your encouraging way that you promote the arts. So she loves with her husband, Andrew, who's with us here from in Springfield, New Hampshire. And you are presenting your exhibition titled Traveling Vicariously. So let's all take a look.
A lot of things that I had planned to say. Thank you. Long time person. Yes, definitely. I can remember when Ava had a small gallery behind the Dartmouth bookstore. I also remember one of my absolute favorite exhibits called Waste to Art, when Ava first occupied this lovely building, the Carter factory. Artists were invited in to get all the things from the renovation and build and make whatever they wanted. It was a wonderful show. And I'm glad that, thank you, Heidi, for mentioning messages for the future, because that certainly figures into what I have been thinking about for this show coming up. Okay. As Heidi said, whether teaching, exhibiting, volunteering, or just visiting, Ava is a wonderful, wonderful place to come. Simply because of the people who are part of Ava, and I think Ava's mission is so diverse, so inclusive of everyone, from the little ones and favorites to seniors. Seniors and all. It's a wonderful place. And Heidi has been amazing during this time of the pandemic. She's done an amazing job. So thank you, Heidi. And thank you, our new exhibition coordinator, Sam. The show has evolved as it's gone along. And just said to Heidi, after that 2019 jury show, or just before it, I had put in a proposal about postcards, and I called it Postcards from Nowhere to Somewhere. I got off on this tangent doing postcards. It's almost just under 200 postcards. I'm a crazy person, but I did that, and I brought them all up here. And the show evolved even during the installation, but it's no longer, as Heidi pointed out, called Postcards from Nowhere. Somewhere it's called Traveling Vicariously, which I think is appropriate for where we are right now, because it didn't invite any cruises, just asked us to travel vicariously during the pandemic, and they still are, and I think the whole cruise situation is still in question. So that's how the show happened. And I'd like to start over here. This wall is just some of these postcards. They were chosen at random. Thank you, Sam, for the display. In the center is a whole series of boxes of art cards. Each one of them is laminated. Where did they come from? They came from classrooms of the past, before the internet, before we had all of these resources and posters. I used to use these in my classes, and I thought, wait a second, let's use them in this exhibit. So here they are, and I noticed during the opening, people were picking them up. So a good thing as far as spreading the news about art history. These used to be used at tables, and students would organize them with different activities, introduction to projects in the classroom. Okay, now where did the idea of the postcards come from? As Heidi mentioned, I'm a member of the National Collage Society. Each year they have an annual show. It's open to everyone. And they have only two, it's sort of like if you've heard of artist trading cards, only two things that you have to do. They're supposed to be 4 by 6 and mounted on or matted on 8 by 10. As all of these are, with a few exceptions. By the time I was, getting to the 150th one, I was getting tired, so I ended up putting some together. But other than that, they range from collages to prints to mixed media, environmental themes, a lot of. If you're a tea drinker, you'll recognize yogi teas. And yogi teas have little sayings on them. So that's what that's about. I would take the saying, I think about it, and okay, that was my collage for the day. I also am a firm believer in to remember a place best when you sketch it or you draw it or you paint it. So some of these are scenes from, I haven't done a lot of traveling, but if I do have, wherever I go, I usually take a little watercolor set with me. And as much as I can, I will sketch or do watercolor right on the site. So that's kind of what this wall is about, and it's ever changing. There are many more of these to come. So hopefully it will change as the exhibition continues. As Heidi mentioned, 3 of us showing currently at APA. We're very honored to our work was honored for the jury show in 2019, and I meant to close this, so I'm gonna close it. Forgot to close it. Anyway, this kind of strange looking piece is rather reminiscent of the piece I had in the 2019 show. The one in the 2019 show, Messages to the Future, was called Ring of Fire. And it was about the same size as this, and it was interactive as this one is. That's why this one is here in the show, to kind of continue that process of what I was doing at that time in 2019. I remember people at the opening in 2019 coming up and actually doing the interactive process. The innards were from a clock from the transfer station, actually, that had a gong. And you could just, I wired them so that you could pull them up and down and make the gong. But the point is, it was all about, we are running out of time to save the planet. We all need to. That's always, it's been my theme for a long, long time. As I said, in the postcards, there are many environmental themes. There's one. There are many. Wow, there's another one. And that one was specifically about messages to the future. Bill McKibben's right, it's not too late. But on with this. If you have watched Doctor Who, you know about the TARDIS. And so we'll open this up. It's not really like the TARDIS, it's not a phone booth, but it is decorated all around. As you walk in the door, you can see the back. But it is interactive in that it's called Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Name that tune. So I had started this with a granddaughter in mind, but it kind of took a different direction. And this is where it is, somewhere traveling vicariously. It might even be over the rainbow and dreaming about something. I'm tall, and I wondered about the height of this, but if you reach up and you turn, there's another postcard on top. It's a museum postcard, and it's op art. And as you turn it, this whole thing could just, take off and go wherever the Doctor Who's TARDIS would fly. So traveling vicariously again. I think I have on the other side another postcard size work that is called Yellow Brick Road. So it's just a theme about traveling unlimited through your imagination. Best way to travel. Can I pause for a drink of water?
Oh, yes, yes. You catch the back of it, Sam?
Well, you know what? I think maybe I could turn it. It's not. Oh.
You have lots of hidden messages, or what do we call it, Easter eggs in some of the work. Yes.
I do. I can't help but do that. And I guess that's because I love stories. At one point I taught language arts, and I read a lot, which brings us to the next piece. I've done quite a few authored books, but I thought this one was one to include because, I don't know about you, but our local library was fantastic. They had curbside pickup. It was just a dream come true. We have to put up with all of the pandemic and everything, but yet the library really helped. That helped a long way. I think it helped a lot. This is actually a book that was, again, from the classroom. And it was an outdated book. It was about art careers. So gluing every page, carving out, it becomes all about fine arts. And traveling by art, traveling by books. Which brings us to another piece that is over here. I had no idea where this was going to be going when I first started it. A lot of collage artists can tell you that. Kind of the material to dictate what happens next in the work. And this all started with, I think I was rereading some Jane Austen. And from that period of history, but my husband came home with 2 novels from the 1860s. And I just tore off the covers and decided, okay, where is this going from here? And my tea bags help out again. I'd have to put my glasses on to read it, but I know it's there for a reason. Because a dialogue developed between these 2 people. They weren't, they were random 10 cent. Can you imagine 10 cents for a paperback novel? But that's what it was in 1860. Pulp fiction. There's no relationship between these 2, but yet it happened in my collage that there was a relationship. It says, trust is the union of intelligence and integrity. And I'm imagining all of these possible things between these 2 people. And the collage progressed. And I ended up calling it Secrets a little bit. But I think a lot of people could have their own stories to tell to it. The collage next to it, I started soon after, and maybe that shows between the 2 of them, but my best friend since kindergarten came to visit, and she loves to just kind of walk into my studio and, we sit down and we're talking and talking, but we were also collaging. And this one started to develop. Hear no evil, see no evil, do no evil, speak no evil. The Japanese monkeys are hidden in here. And this is called Wisdom of the Ages. And that's kind of where that one developed as I was working on it. Includes an old print as well as some very recognizable art. It really kind of pairs well, I think, with the altered book. So that's another reason it's here. The 2, at the end, this is a media collage called Tempest in the Teapot. I won't take time to go into all of these. You kind of tell your own story. This one I call Hooked. You can kind of see why, but again, that goes back to classroom. A student actually made that, but I didn't throw it away. I never throw anything away. So that worked its way into the collage with an earring and a piece of rust and some other things. But anyway, Hooked on Travel, kind of a fun one, but I'm probably getting hooked up on too much detail. Am I? Should I move along? It's okay. Antique frame. Just about everything in this exhibit is upcycled, recycled, and cycled again. This one is called Keys to the Kingdom, and the pieces in it are upcycled, as you can see, old doll parts and everything. But this one is more, and it's in an antique box. This is one of the few that I have not worked on the back of it or the sides of it because I wanted the box to remain the antique box showing. But it makes a statement about our planet, again, an environmental statement. Something that happened along the way between 2019 and 2021 was my husband is becoming very interested in stamp collecting. He found both of these letters, again from the 1860s, so I'm kind of still in that time period. But this is actually a triptych. The third piece isn't here, but again, it relates to that time period. It's kind of interesting history behind it, but I won't stop for all of that now. Next to it, I've done a lot of hand lettering, so I actually tried to go back and do some hand lettering. Haven't done it for a long time, but music alone shall live, never to die. At one point I taught music full time. And my friend that I mentioned I'm doing the collage with in the piece back there, Wisdom of the Ages, gave me this, this is something story to each one of these, but I just thought of saying this hammer for the piano. And I mean, maybe I was thinking of her, but it came together for the exhibit. I'm not sticking to my notes, so there. That's all right. Going along the window, I didn't expect to put these in the windowsill, but I thought, well, why not? Because most of them are decorated on the back as well as inside and the sides. Almost all of them are. And I won't stop to talk about all of them, except maybe just mention, I'm going to skip this one for a moment and come over to this one, because this one is called Hope, Emily Dickinson's poem. Again, my glasses. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. That's directly from the pandemic. But I just felt that, you know, it's we were all isolated during the pandemic, and it's a strange time, but we certainly have to hold out hope, and there's reason for a whole lot more hope. I don't want to skip this one right yet. Let's see. All those postcards, hundreds of them. I still have more 4x6 left, so I have to use them. So I said, well, why not do a couple of accordion books? And so those are the base of it. And this is actually made for the show. So it's called Traveling Vicariously. And it's made up of old postcards, again, from my husband's collection, and stamps. If you come into the show, you might take a look at some of the cards that are written on. One is from a father to a daughter, and they're just kind of charming. We thought that worked well with the postcards. Going back to my tea bag theme, this one is tea cabinet. Obviously, Joseph Cornell has influenced my work. And again, those are decorated on the back, but you know, they were called cabinets. Everyone knows about the Victorians. I believe if you put together something, it should be meaningful and thoughtful. Again, I kind of overdid it, but my tea bag collection, there's a good portion of it, but this one is called Bare Bones. Wisdom, again, from the yoga teas. And back to the environmental theme. I call this one food art.
So Elizabeth, are you inspired by the literature and then you find the objects to make that, or is it the objects that speak to you and then you put it together with the literary like inspiration?
That's a good question. Thank you for it. It's both. It's back and forth both. I mean, the one I mentioned from 2019 show actually has my father's pocketwatch in it. So it's a special thing that's important. For example, that's how it started. Something else, this would start with yes, this started with yes. You know, so it kind of depends. This started with my concern of the environment, because my art, basically the past, I would say 30 years, about the environment. In fact, I have one, most people think of me as a printmaker, I think, at work I've exhibited at AVA. But when you've been a teacher for, we won't say how many years, you don't stay in just one medium, you explore a lot. Go back to my train of thought. But anyway, oh, yes, a print called Global Warming. Remember when we used to call this global warming? And then we called it climate change. And now we're calling it climate crisis. This really is a crisis. If you've read another book I just absolutely love, Richard Howard's book, The Overstory, it's very trees talk to us. They know. If you're a gardener, you know. Climate is changing. It is in crisis. Saving seeds. That's what that's part of. In Norway, there is a seed bank, and I think all of us should be thinking about diversity as far as our gardens are concerned. I'm going to skip the two little ones, but maybe just mention this one because it's called Finding Our Way. And it started with two pieces to answer your question, and then it developed into we do need to find our way to help this planet as well. I can move over this way. Laptop assemblage is also decorated on the back as well. But it's called Prevailing Winds. And once again, it kind of incorporates the three themes with the stamps, the postcards, and the climate change as well, I think. The piece next to it is total craziness. But I said, okay, I'm just going to do it because I'm in an age where you start ripping things up. And you will find it, it's called Finding My Way. Little box assemblage is called Finding Our Way, but this one is called Finding My Way. And it's everything from handmade paper to marbleized papers to you name it, prints, old watercolors. It's kind of a mosaic, but it was done for this exhibit with this sort of theme in mind. The one next to it was also done for the exhibit specifically. Quintessential Vermont, which again incorporates the stamps. It's actually paint on stretched canvas, which is a little bit different, but it's also mixed media, so it's very stable. The piece next to this came to the exhibit, and actually Sam asked me, why is this one at the exhibit? And I thought, why is it the exhibit? Will anyone get it? And I was delighted opening night when one gentleman got it right on. It's called Lean on Me. And here's the story about why it's in the exhibit. It was a functional ceramic piece, or at least it was supposed to be a deep bowl. I made many of these. Some of them were here at Ava, I think. But this one, when it came out of the kiln, whoops, had a problem. So I like the shape, and I said, I'm not throwing this out. And my husband and I walk a lot, and someone who was here from Springfield said, yes, those must be rocks from Springfield. I said, well, they are. And this guy is lean, again, the seed theme. But the gentleman at the opening said, I get it exactly. The rocks are there for the broken to lean on. And I said, it's just it. So that was why it's here. This one I had an interesting discussion of with a couple who live in Lyme, I think, if I remember correctly, but they had spent the day fighting knotweed. This, of course, you may recognize as knotweed, but I call it stalwart flutes. Because when I finished this piece, I brought it outside to varnish it and spray it, and it was a windy, windy day. And wouldn't you know, tones were sounding across it. I kid you not, and I thought that is so cool. It has to be called that. And so it is, and it's here in this show because let's face it, knotweed has traveled, and it's still traveling. It's an invasive, so we have to do our best to try to, you know, put it in its place where it belongs. But every season, and we haven't gotten to yet. UNH recommends putting plastic down, really thick plastic for several years. We haven't gotten to that stage yet, but we do monitor it closely, and every year I'm out there trying to deal with it. I've even gotten some recipes of how to make a pudding or a bread from knotweed, but you have to capture it when it's only about this high. But at any rate, that's why this is here. And then, and last but not least, this is kind of crazy. This is really crazy. I noticed some people study it. The explanation is right here. Why is it even here? This is styrofoam boxes, medication that needs to be refrigerated, pain in them. And I thought, multiply that by the billions of vaccines that are traveling the world. I mean, think about it. I get so upset when I see things about plastics and what we're trying to do with plastics. But styrofoam is just as much of a problem. So that's why these are here. And again, in several places, I've written or used a card. I will pick this up and it's back down, but it's messages. I think it's somewhere. It's on top, it's on that side, on the back. Messages for the future that show 2019 is included. And I included a lot of different show cards from a lot of different places because I've collected show cards for some reason I don't know what for years and years. And it was really kind of fun to look through them. Just like looking through all those art history cards. So I wanted to make a point about think about all the you know, bigger reactors and everything. And this was supposed to be a tall, probably about 4 or 5 feet exhibit, but it changed during the installation suddenly. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4 pedestals left over, and I said, okay, well, let's just do this. And arranging that way, it'll still make the same point. The sculpture won't be there, but I'll also be good, and I hope I don't get in trouble with this. I don't know about copyrights. But this one is called show cards. This is called show cards 3, show cards 4. Again, it's show cards with an imposter, but they're all of this 4 by 6 size. I had 2 other stretched canvases for this show, but we ran out of space, so they aren't here. They were show cards 1 and show cards 2, but that's why the no one is the moment. But again, they were on stretched canvas, similar to the Vermont essential, in a similar way. It's on stretched canvas. I better look at my notes. And maybe I could pause the question. Yeah, if I need some water.
If anybody on Zoom would like to ask questions, you can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat and we will, we have a monitor reading the chat questions.
Oh, I hope there's a question
There.
Mine isn't so much a question, it's an observation. I really like the fact that you decorated the backside of the. So I guess there's a little bit of a question. What led you to do that?
It's a good question. If I like the box, and I'm not fussy, the first box, you know, it's an antique box, I wanted to let that show. And there may be other things going on in the box. For example, some of my box assemblages were actually cigar boxes. You know, so they had areas that needed covering. That's one activity. but also thinking in the round. These box assemblages would have to be initial, very different from my earlier ones, which were more or less all about environmental themes. But I wanted to keep the theme going and use every space that I possibly could. So that included the side and the back as well. And many of them open up so they can stand. That's kind of, did I answer your question?
Yeah, it's I find it really interesting.
Thank you.
So Elizabeth, we were all wowed by your piece, Ring of Fire, right? That won the show in 2019. And I know in your work, you put very personal items in there that are very deeply heartfelt for you. So thank you, first of all, thank you for sharing those things with us. But I also wonder how it feels for you to take those very heartfelt things and put them into a piece of artwork. And what if that piece of artwork sells? How does that feel for you?
That's another very excellent question,
Yeah.
because that's a tough call. And I think it has to do with gift giving. The gentleman I mentioned from the opening, I mean, I think artists' best, reward, I don't want to call it a reward, but something like that is if somebody understands and gets the point of your message. Something that you're talking about, that they understand it. I do have a little tiny box, which is actually smaller than the two in the last window. It's called nickel gong, and it has a nickel in the center with the Buddha. And it was the nickel was my father's that he put on a railroad track, and it's flat. So that one has never been for sale. So I do have ones that are not for sale. I'll probably keep that.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is if I can make a statement and give it to someone and someone enjoys it, I would love to be able to do that.
Right.
That's happened, so that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, makes it all the more richer.
So you spent a lot of your professional career teaching.
All of us.
And so, did you see some big change when you transitioned to being able to do things for much more? You didn't have to teach anymore, you retired. And did you see some change in your work at all? And what was it? If there was some change, or was it just sort of continuity?
Another good question. It was all sort of continuity because I taught with someone who's actually head of the department where I was teaching. I taught a lot of places. Nobody knows who it is. I am too busy to do my own art. Huh? What? How can you be too busy to do your own art if you're an art teacher, an art educator? So therefore, I've always done my art along with my students. The altered book in that corner. Not that particular one, but when I got into doing altered books, I think it is shown in it. I have one that's very thick, and it's called Night and Day. But I started that one with this senior class at Co-Brown Academy. And they had all been to their prom, and everybody was tired and all that. So what are we doing for the class? We're gluing all the pages to our books because we're too tired to do anything else. So every single page in the book was glued, and then I forgot what the assignment was, but you could carve into it, or you should print, or you should, do different things with the book, ones that have been glued together. So to say that things have really changed a lot, I would say probably not, because I've always kind of been working in many different media. And I'm not media pro. I'm not glued to just one thing. Even someone asked me this the opening night, and my answer was it's seasonal. Because I will go outside and do encausticks, a couple little encausticks here, one over there, I think. During this time of year or when it's cooler in the fall, because plastic is so toxic, I don't have the scissors set up or use. So, yeah, so I love playing it. So that's beautiful. Collage is perfect for a certain age and also the time of year. This one. You know, in your studio, you can bring in a lot of things. My studio is kind of a crazy looking place. With, I'll give my secret away. You know, this clear salad boxes that you get in salad. I have stacks and stacks of those with different materials in them. You know, so I can just pull it out. But that's one way to, you know, do different things at different times of year. Another question.
Yeah, so you taught music as well.
Yes.
So those are interesting to have music and the visual. I know a number of artists, when they do their work, they listen to music. Do you listen to music? I know when we listen to jazz. Do you listen to music when you do your work? Does it influence it?
I'm laughing because my husband is here and it depends on the type of music, to answer your question.
Yeah.
If it's classical, I love it. In my classroom at university, I would let the students pick whatever they wanted to listen to, and we listened to music all the time as we were working in the studio. Personally, I can get so much into something, and this is really showing my craziness, that I will, you know, start talking to myself about whatever I'm working on, and I don't really pay attention to music. And I have to say, as a musician, I like to pay attention to the music. So I don't think of music as being background. So I basically, when I'm working just by myself, it's without music. That's quiet, because I want to really focus on music. It's kind of annoying if it's in the background. If it happens to be going with what I'm doing, I can certainly go with it. So it's a little bit of both, actually.
And so is it that Andrew likes to listen to music and you have to tell him to turn it off?
I never do that.
Do I?
It really, yeah, that's so funny because he would be listening to music all the time.
Yeah,
Constantly.
Which is great.
I can tell by the word on his face.
Where's the grid?
Oh, gosh. Well, you know, I had so many thank yous, and I had also, maybe I should end with something that's in my purse if I can even find it, because it didn't come out with my notes. Okay, maybe I lost it. Get it around. Oh, it was about the postcards. Not so important, but since we did take a trip back in time, this is from a cartoon. And it says, what's this? This is the teenager speaking, and the mom says, Grandma sent you a postcard from Florida. A what? Huh? What? It's a picture. Someone nails to tell that they were thinking of it. And it happened probably a week ago. But she's not even in it. Well, no, she didn't take the picture. She probably bought it at the drugstore. Okay, start from the beginning. And the mom says, it's like Snapchat on a rotary phone. But I thought, you know, postcards, they nobody really feels of them. I mean, I have tons of those art history postcards. What's going to happen is that I did one year at this, when was it? Was it the beginning of the pandemic or was it after? I think it was before the pandemic. I started sending a postcard weekly to my granddaughter to use up some of these art history postcards. But there's still millions of art history postcards. And then the ones that are laminated, you know, you need to use a Sharpie to write on it. But there have been postcard shows if you're interested. I didn't find the date on this one, but there was one in the Finnish Museum in Helsinki that focused on the different techniques that were used in postcards back in the early 1900s. Penciled in backdrops, added hand tinting, and mixed surreal drawings. Fascinating. Some of the, you've got to put top on that. That's one that's kind of surreal that I did that's still in the box. You know, I would love to go to a postcard show. There has been such a thing in 2012 and 2013. The Museum of Fine Arts in Boston had a show called The Postcard Age, sections from Leonard Lauer's collection. I had a brief quote from that. Again, these were from the early 1900s. A postcard craze swept the world in the early 1900s as billions of cards were brought in mail or just pasted into albums. This unprecedented exhibition traces how big historical and cultural themes of modern age, enthralling, exciting, and sometimes disturbing, played out on a postcard's tiny canvas. That's one thing I forgot to say. It's challenging to work on 4x6. And if you go to the National Collage Society and look at their annual show, you will see, you know, some of them are, you know, pretty amateurs. Others are very well planned. But it's tough because you're not working on huge canvas. You really need to think about scale and composition, you know, within that. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I have to, again, thank you, Elizabeth, for coming to speak to us. Thank you for coming to join us for the talk. I appreciate Nick Gaffney, our education manager, who is our tech guru tonight. And I know she's not going to train the camera on herself, but Samantha Eckert is our exhibition manager, who graciously and beautifully greets the artists, helps hang the shows, puts the events together. So Sam, you're doing a great job. And tell your friends about it. Tell them to come to avagallery.org. We have lots of more gallery talks lined up. If for those of you with little ones in your lives, we have summer camps that are going on. They're starting soon. On Monday, but we still have some openings in both in-person camps and online camps. And as you can see, we're not right now, but exercising safety protocols here still at AVA. So mask wearing, hand sanitizing, contact tracing. If you have worries about your family members or yourselves being kept safe, we're trying to keep it as safe as we can here. So please come in, see the exhibitions, visit avagallery.org online. Posts, we have posts on Facebook and Instagram, and go ahead and forward those. Tell your friends about it because it's a really beautiful exhibition and lots going on here at AVA. Thank you for joining us.